Welcome back to the Weeb Lounge. This is our review of Metroidvania game Touhou Luna Nights. All right, now there's a lot of Metroidvania games out there. A lot of them very simple, a lot of them kind of meh, and a few of them that are really, really good gems. Hollow Knight, for example, is one of the most awesome ones that there is. And of course, Castlevania Symphony of the Night, the one that started it all and arguably still the best. Touhou Luna Nights, the Touhou Universe, takes their little twist on the whole genre. Now, basically, what this is well, the story premise is it takes place in the Touhou universe, which unfortunately I don't know too much about. I should know more, but I don't. But basically, the vampire from the Scarlet Devil Mansion, Remelia, decides to have fun and just creates a parallel universe and throws her maid Sakuya into this parallel universe and says, fight your way out. Yeah, that's the premise of it. It's not much else to it. Now, in terms of being, a classic Metroidvania game, this game definitely is a Metroidvania game, hands down. In terms of boss fights, the boss fights, oof. I started off with one of the boss fights here because I actually almost got so frustrated with this thing that I just quit. That's this kind of game. The difficulty for the bosses can be pretty nasty. But the odd thing is that I was able to do some of the bosses in one shot. Like the very last boss, I think I one-shot her. Or second to last boss. This is one of the two. It looked like a tough boss. Things were flying all over the screen and I one-shot it. Whereas one of the early bosses, this one, I just had a lot of trouble with that I really couldn't quite get. I don't know. So basically, Sakuya, her abilities, she throws a bunch of knives. And whenever she throws these knives, it consumes some of her magic points, right? And the way to get those magic points back is called Graze. Now, what Graze is basically getting really, really, really close to other attacks, like you kind of just saw there. It goes right by the attack. That's considered a graze. It kind of drains that mana from it. And it also goes into effect with when you graze the opponent himself, it'll kind of drain some of the health, and you can drain hit points too. And that's how you kind of keep going. Like right now, you see I'm virtually nil on that, but I got graze, so I got a whole bunch back. And you're going to have to make use of that. Now, what her primary abilities are, the thing that makes this game unique from other Metroidvania games, I guess you could say, is the ability to slow down time, which did right there, so I can get through that, and the ability to stop time completely for a set amount of time. That time ticks around right there. Yeah, I jumped and got hit like a dummy. I got killed. Well, I know this game got a little bit frustrating and such, and I saw that screen a few times. Let me forward that a little bit here. Okay, back into another fight. This one I think I win, but this one did frustrate me. But anyways, that's the gist of it. That's the big thing about this series is the ability to slow down time and stop time. Now, the odd thing is when you stop time, sometimes different things behave differently. Meaning you stop time, everything's supposed to come to a halt, but there's some things that are magically enchanted so that, like, when you stop time, these things actually start moving. Or when you stop time, they'll move in opposite order, right? If it's going to the left, you stop time, it'll start moving to the right. It's a nice little mechanic that they really kind of seem to have fun with. Now, overall, this is supposed to be like an 8-bit kind of Metroidvania type thing. I'd say more 16-bit than, that, because this is definitely too much for 8-bit. It's 16-bit, more or less. Now, it's an awesome game. There's a lot of things that you can do. There's weapons that you can get. But it is relatively short. Within the course of about 4 hours, we saw the end credits. Played the game for 4 hours, bam, end credits. Now, that was kind of disappointing, but then we realized they actually give you another level to do after the end credits roll, like another whole new level, which is really weird because they set it up, they add more to the story, but it's like the story it doesn't jive at all. Like the game ends, credits roll, there's your story, and then it goes into this extra level that's really really hard, by the way, that it kind of has nothing really to do, or they ignore like 75% of what just happened and say this happened. Yeah, that there's no continuity there. It's just like, hey, here's another level, no continuity. Just go. We made it hard for you. Go do what you got to do. Okay, but that one extra level, we got to the end boss and everything. Had a hard time with that, and that seems to be about it. It's a pretty short game. Now, granted, there's achievements to unlock. There's all the secrets to find. There's other things you can do that will help the replay value, but still for the base game itself to be only like 4.5, 5 hours at most for like a general playthrough. That's actually kind of disappointing because a lot of Metroidvania games on your first playthrough where, you're not trying to do some kind of rush or anything, a lot of these take a really long time, 20 hours, 30 hours, maybe even more. I mean, some of them are just insane. Some of them, 15, 20 hours is probably like your average. So this one falls way under the average. So I guess I can go into the different things that I disliked about this. Let's talk about graphics first. For a 16-bit, not necessarily 8-bit, the graphics are actually pretty nice. Everything flows well. The movement, everything. There's not a thing I can complain about it. There's not a thing I can complain about that. The only thing that I suppose I would complain is actually in the settings. If you're running a multi-monitor system and you want to go full screen, it'll expand the whole thing across all the monitors and looks like crap. So I actually had to play windowed, which is why when you look, you can see the bottom bar for Windows there. That's how I had to play in order for this to work. Otherwise, it would just expand to the other screen and it just looked like crap. So that's how I had to play it. If you don't have a multi-monitor setup, I doubt it's going to be any issue. Now, the sound settings were also kind of meh because, when I turned the sound way down, it was still loud. It was like overpowering the stream. I had to tweak a few other things, and it was still kind of just, yeah. But overall, graphics, sound, everything's okay. Music, I see a lot of people raving about the music in this. No, the music's okay. I'm not going to say I hated it or anything, but it wasn't any kind of tunes that will stick in your head or something. You're like, hey, I really like this, or that it really fit the level that it's in. In fact, it didn't seem like very many audio options at all. Not very many music tracks at all. So I wouldn't give music any kind of thumbs up or thumbs down. It's flat. It's flat. In terms of actual gameplay, control of the character, it was incredibly fluid. The character pretty much performed whatever acts you were doing, and even though I was yelling at the character multiple times in this game to do what I told it to, it's because I pressed the wrong button. It's not her fault, it's mine. If I did have any little complaint about the character, it's the actual running animation. You'll notice it pop at some point here where it looks like she's dog paddling forward as she's running. I couldn't get over that. I kept seeing that. I was like, why is she trying to dog paddle? See, look at that. It don't look right. There's something weird with it. I don't know. Maybe it's something to do with the character that I don't know, but it's a little weird for me. So graphics, I mean, there's nothing to complain about there. Audio, it's flat. Gameplay itself, really good, and with the time stop mechanic, I do think it's rather unique. I did enjoy it. Like this item here, if you the ones highlighted in purple that I made a mistake on, if you stop time, things highlighted in purple do not stop. They will keep going. And I think that one actually gave me some trouble, because yeah. So in terms of being a Metroidvania game, it seems that they tried to put an awful lot of... They try to make your life hell in short spurts. I don't know if that necessarily makes sense. It just seems like they wanted you to suffer in batches. I don't know. I really don't know if that actually makes sense. But the game itself is really short. The levels are not terribly intricate, except for the times where they really want you to platform jump and make crazy amount of use out of your time stop ability and stuff. I actually think they made you use it so often it started losing its uniqueness, its value, because it became it wasn't so much of a cool feature of the game, but rather something you had to keep hitting over and over and over, and it started becoming a pain in the you know what. So it lost its novelty way too quick, and it's kind of the game's own fault for forcing you to constantly do it. Maybe that's the whole idea. I don't know, but yeah, it started losing interest pretty quick. And it is a necessity in boss fights. If they left it to the boss fights and a few select places in the map to where that's where you really had to use it and get used to it, it would have been perfect. But having to use it nonstop is kind of, it wears thin. Now, like I said earlier, the game only really lasts like 4 hours, 4.5 hours, assuming no replayability. And that's actually really a detriment. There's a lot of people, especially over on Steam or whatever. I think the rating for Steam is something like 95%. Like it's really high. It's really killer. And overall, it is a good game. But no. If I had to pick between Symphony of the Night and this, it's Symphony of the Night. If I had to pick between Hollow Knight and this, it's Hollow Knight. If I had to pick between Ori and this, it's Ori. This game is a good game, but it is not high on the list of my Metroidvania like top picks or anything like that. The price point for the game, I think it was around $20. Let me double check that. Like $18 or so. And to me, that actually feels a little overpriced considering how short the game is. I guess I shouldn't complain too much. I got a good enjoyment out of it, and $18 really isn't that bad. So I guess you could say it's a somewhat fair price. But if it was more like, $10, that $10 to me would be a perfect price point. So if it goes on sale, keep an eye out for it, grab it. That's what I would recommend. So what would my overall rating of this game be? Well, graphics, 16-bit, decent. Gameplay, excellent. Audio, meh. The overall stage design and everything, there's nothing really new, to be honest. The stop mechanic and everything helps, but otherwise there's nothing really new or ingenuitive. Just the obstacles that they throw at you, it seems like they tried to overdo that or really overly complicate it to the point of frustrating. Making some of them frustrating or difficult, that's all good, but it's that weird. That's the weird batch mentality that I see. It's like, okay, you get to this part or whatever, you're going to hate life, and then for a while you're going to be okay, and then you get over to here, you're going to hate life again, and then you get over here, and then you get to the boss, you're going to hate life for a little bit longer, but not that long because you'll eventually get past the boss. I hope you guys understand where I'm getting at with that. It's overall good, but one of my biggest complaints is that it was very simple, straightforward, and it only lasted about 4 hours. It didn't feel like there was that much to discover. Metroidvania games are always about finding secrets, discovering things, secret weapons, new ways to do things, the alternate flipped castle, that kind of deal. And it just, see, like right here with this thing here, that all that's really doing there is kind of slowing you down. It's like, okay, yes, I have to deal with this. And and it just kind of starts to drone on. It's like, I don't know. It just doesn't quite feel like it should be as good as it should be. So what would my rating on this game be? Well, despite everybody giving it like these crazy 95% and such, I can't give it that much praise. I liked it, but a 95%, that's too much. That's to me, is way, way too much. I'm going to say on a scale of 1 to 10, using our little Uwu Kitty Weeb Cat scale, I can only give it a 7. And how would they be able to get a higher rating? Well, if the game was longer, if it was more intricate in terms of exploration, because these games are almost always about exploration, not just farting around and getting hit by the same axe blade thing over and over. I could have got it going a little bit higher there, but and the music didn't tickle us at all. It really didn't. It was completely and utterly unimportant to us. So that's why we can only give it 7. Now, if you're a big fan of the whole Touhou universe and such, yeah, you're going to like this game a lot more than maybe you should, to be honest. Yeah. 7 Weeb Cats is all we can give it. If you're a huge fan, I can see you rating it higher, but I'm going to have to leave it at that. 7 Uwu Kitties. I do recommend playing it if you are a Metroidvania type fan. And with that, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification button. We're streaming here on YouTube, a little bit over on Twitch at twitch.tv/The Weeb Lounge. More videos to come, and we'll see you in the next one.